morning, everyone. I hope you're doing great here in Doha at Web Summit. Today we are discussing one of the most urgent challenges of our digital age. Our artificial intelligence is transforming fraud, deception, and consumer protection. So let's be clear, AI is a kind of paradox. So it's one of the strongest tools that we have in fraud detection, in cybersecurity, yet is also used against us by bad actors. So scams are no longer just phishing emails, robocalls. They evolved into something more sophisticated with deepfakes, voice cloning, and hyper-realistic impersonations. And let me tell you a story that happens in my country, Italy, just a couple of weeks ago. A group of fraudsters used AI to clone the voice of our Minister of Defense, and they deceive high-profile entrepreneurs into transferring money, believing they were funding the rescue of kidnapped journalists here in the Middle East. Of course, it was an elaborate AI-powered scam. But this incident is a stark reminder of the transformation we are into in this moment. So the question is, how do we fight back? How do we stay ahead in this digital arms race? And how do we empower consumers to recognize and protect themselves against these emerging threats? To help us answer these questions, I'm joined by two outstanding experts. Mashael Al-Sabah is a leading researcher here in Qatar at Qatar University in network security and privacy enhancing technologies, and has been working on cutting-edge fraud detection and cybersecurity solution, and Els Bruggeman, head of policy and enforcement at Euroconsumers, who is a driving force in consumer protection, advocating for stronger policy to combat digital fraud. So let's go straight into the discussion. I would like to start with you, Mashael, because as I mentioned in my example, you see this kind of evolution in the usage of AI in creating scams. So from your perspective, which is a privileged perspective, what are some of the most alarming trends that you are seeing right now?
So as you mentioned, the most alarming trend right now in AI is deepfake, because we've heard stories like the ones you mentioned. We've heard stories of employees making millions of dollars of transfers just because they believe that the video call that they just received is indeed coming from their CEO. And then we have voice cloning as well. There's been, just from a small snippet of your voice, attackers can use that to create any audio, to use it to convince your coworkers or your family to release private information or to make transfers of money or any other things. There is also the AI integrated tools that we use in our apps in our daily lives. For example, we have Copilot in our email app. In the Black Hat conference, researchers have shown that if an attacker has access to someone's email account, they can craft very convincing emails, phishing emails, because the AI there has access to the communication pattern, it has access to your contacts, it has access to your style and writing, so it can be used to write very convincing emails. AI and also large language models can facilitate attacks for attackers because they can help, and this is actually one of the research that we conducted at QCRI. We used LLMs like ChatGPT to generate a synthetic data set of fraudulent SMS messages. And those are able to bypass detection by current classifiers, AI as well. So AI can be used by attackers to defeat AI. And this is very alarming because the human detection rate is very low. It's currently between 50 and 70%. And if you look at 50%, that's like flipping a coin. So attackers are very successful when they start using deepfake and the advances in AI to attack victims. Still, the mainstream methods are still using the phone and SMS messages.
No, thank you, because I mean, consumers often struggle to recognize AI-generated fraud. We developed along the years some kind of antibodies for the traditional scams, but this is absolutely a new level. So, Els, I would like to hear from you, what we can do, how we can help the consumer to become more digital aware and resilient to this kind of new frauds?
Well, I think if we hear all of this, that you will probably agree with me that the usual literacy, the education awareness campaigns that we know today will no longer do the job. We really need an update. That doesn't mean, however, everything needs to be thrown down the drain. There are some basics that still stand, and also in times of AI. For example, check the email address. If it looks suspicious, it's still a very good way to detect AI-generated phishing mails. Or make sure you have strong passwords and protection online, because AI uses all of your data to personalize scams. But there are others that we have been telling consumers like for 20 years, like look at the SSL, you know, the small lock on top. I mean, that has become obsolete because, you know, also scammers use it today. Nowadays, instead, we need to try and train consumers to recognize deepfakes. For example, in New Zealand, they developed an AI deepfake bingo game where you need to spot the right one. Spoiler alert: nobody gets the right one, but it shows that it is possible. And nowadays, we need to go and tell people when they date online that they need to ask specific question or not wire money without seeing the guy. I mean, it really sounds basic, but it's the kind of advice that consumers still need. We need to reach consumers and teach them in games where the fun is, but also where the scammers are. We need to try to train them to recognize fake online shops. And believe me, it is still possible because on the upside, scammers are often very lazy and they tend to copy things. And maybe we also need to tell people to create some kind of a safe word so between family and friends. So when you get a call for help or for money, that you know you're actually talking to the right person. Having that said, okay, there are flaws, there's still mistakes that can be spotted, but overall, I think we have to admit that AI-generated scams are just becoming too good to be recognized by average consumers. If you see that, for example, ChatGPT is helping improving phishing mails because they take out all of the spelling mistakes. If you see that bank websites can be meticulously copied, if you see that catfishers can manipulate thanks to in-depth social engineering, then I think we need to admit literacy has its limits. It's not merely on consumers, but more and more it will be on others to protect us to be safe online.
Yeah, because if you think traditional, for example, phishing mails, sometimes it's something that you recognize because they were written so poorly and badly. I mean, it's something that you can realize it's fake. Now with AI and AI becoming more and more sophisticated, they can also emulate the style of a person or a specific person.
Yeah.
So if you have a certain number of emails coming from a specific person, I can generate exactly the same style of that person. So this makes the difference. But I mean, we mentioned in the introduction that AI can also be a powerful tool for fraud detection. So maybe the answer to the machine is in the machine once again. So, and I would like to hear from you, Mashael, because I mean, you are conducting studies on this in your university. If you can share some insight on the latest AI-driven cybersecurity solution that can help consumers to combat digital scams.
So I'm working on combating financial fraud, and this is in collaboration with the Electronic Cybercrime Combating Department at the Ministry of Interior. They reached out to us because of the surging rate of the crime. It affects all age groups, with half of the affected people are between 35 and 55. I'm talking this data and collected and reported in the country. It affects all demographics, and millions of amounts of money has been transferred abroad. So it not only affects individuals, it affects the financial reputation as well. So there is a strong need to address this issue. So we studied the reports and we understood the stages in which the attackers used to create this attack. And currently, the two mainstream approaches is using SMS messages and using phone calls. So we devised a plan to, it's really, like Els said, it's really hard to completely shut the attack, but we can make it significantly harder for the attackers. We have used AI. We built models that can detect fraudulent SMS messages. We have launched a reporting system for people to report fraudulent messages that they receive. The reason for this is that we always need to keep our data updated, and we need to keep the current trends in our models. So people can take screenshots, they can forward through WhatsApp or upload the screenshots to us. And we can use it in our models to detect. The idea is to deploy this at the telco, or it can be deployed as an app for the user, and it can help the user tell or detect phishing messages. The same can be done for calls, because the fraudsters will use certain calling patterns. So AI can be used in order to detect these kinds of calls.
No, thank you, because I mean, listening to what you were saying, I think it's important to stress the importance of good data, because we need to provide good data to the machine, to the model, to be able to generate good outputs, and also to combat, to fight the frauds. So it's important not only what the machine can do, but what the people can do to help the machine to do the job.
Yes, actually, this is one of the main challenges as a researcher. I believe in the potential of AI as a defense. But the main challenge, the main pain point that we face as researchers is the availability of data to be used to train an accurate and effective model. So actually, this is one of the takeaways that I want stakeholders, I want people to find a way to share data, because this will help us enable or improve our defenses, because the attackers are using the data. They're able to use the data, they're able to use the AI to improve their attacks. So at the same time, we want to improve our defenses. This is actually one of the points that, or the pillars of the AI strategy of the country as well.
No, thank you. So, Els, I would summarize saying that it's all about empowering consumers. I mean, one of the payoff of the Euroconsumers is empower people, improve the market, because actually it's about empowering consumers, put them again in control, and providing feedbacks. So in this case, the attitude that we expect from consumers is to help technology to help them. So I know that Euroconsumer is partnering, for example, in Europe with Gaza, so the Global Anti-Scam Alliance. So in your perspective, what are the activities, what are the campaign that we can run, what are the specific technologies that we can put in place to help consumers to have a different kind of attitude towards this phenomenon?
Well, indeed, scammers use AI, and so should we as consumers. We need to use the AI not only to protect us, with the many examples that were just given, but also to empower us. I mentioned before that ChatGPT was actually helping phishing emails become more productive. Well, the same language models can also help consumers to detect and prevent phishing attacks. We have seen tests where language models are actually encouraging consumers, whenever they get a very good discount offer per mail, to go and check with the website of the official trader, which is a great way to avoid phishing attacks. Thanks to AI, we can also generate chatbots that empower consumers. Scammers, they work around the clock. They work around the clock and all over the world. So it's very important for consumers to have 24/7 access to the right support, the right information. And for example, in New Zealand, a chatbot was created that gives all around the clock, answers, legal answers to the main questions scam survivors are confronted with. It also has a database of the most common, the trending scams of the last 48 hours. And the good thing is that they develop it together with scam survivors. So you don't only have the content, but also the language right. Because that way they feel comfortable with actually reporting the scam. And in the end, we need to catch the guy. But we need to be aware that every time we use AI for good, scammers will try to do better, or should I say worse. It's really, AI is entering in some kind of a boxing ring. I mean, people were recently blasting about this big fight of the century between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. But I think we should give credit and leave that honor to the battle of AI, actually.
So listening to both of you, I would say that collaboration is the key word. So collaboration between tech companies, between regulators, consumer associations, civil society. So this is the key to fight against this new way of deceiving consumers. So just a final takeaway from each of you, 1 minute. So in your perspective, what policies or frameworks should we prioritize to make AI-driven fraud detection both fair and effective?
I think we should put more emphasis on data sharing between different entities again. I understand that there are privacy concerns and issues, but all of these can be addressed with the right approaches. For example, we can use data anonymization. We can use federated learning. There are advances in AI that allow us to train models in a privacy-preserving manner. So all these concerns and challenges, they can be addressed also using AI as well.
Help?
It really takes a network to take down a network. If you look at the anatomy of a scam, it's like a spider web all over the world, no time zones, no borders. And that's exactly what we need to do together to counteract. And by we, I mean all stakeholders, police, tech companies, consumer organizations. How can we do this? For example, data sharing. Tech companies, they sit on a pile of data on scammers, very useful. But do they share it also with other tech companies? Do they share it with enforcement authorities or with consumer organizations? And vice versa. Also, we as consumer organizations can flag scams so they are taken down. The same with, developing technology. Tech companies are super ambitious when it comes to developing AI, and that's absolutely wonderful. But don't tell me that not more can be done to actually detect, detect the scams. For example, deepfakes. For the moment, we don't have a tool on the market, a software tool that allows us to detect deepfakes. I mean, this should be possible. We developed antivirus scams 20 years ago when the main problem was viruses on our computers. We should be able to do more, and we can do if we work together. It takes a network to take down the network.
This is actually one of the research direction, one of the projects that we're also taking on because of the new incoming deepfake attacks. So we're also working on detecting audio deepfake and video deepfake right now. It's ongoing.
So one thing should be clear after this discussion is that AI is not just transforming fraud, it's transforming how we should fight it. So and we need a combination of technology, regulation, consumer awareness to reach this kind of goal. So I just want to thank you for this panel and for being part of it, for your insight, for this conversation. I just want to say that the collaboration, as I mentioned before, is the key word because we are living in such a complex environment where everyone can play his part. So we need the data for the consumers, we need the technology for the companies, we need the intervention from regulators and from the public and private enforcement to tackle together these issues. So thank you all and enjoy the rest of Web Summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much.